Hello, everybody. Nina here. I'm a minute early. I just wanted to make sure this worked, so I will give it a moment, but I hope everyone's having a great day. I guess it's not morning, I guess it's afternoon. I don't know. I don't know what time it is anymore. So let me know where you are in the world. Add a comment to the chat and just, tell me where you guys are hanging out. The way that this is going to work, it's kind of like all my other Q&As, but if you haven't been to one before, essentially you are going to want to ask questions in the chat, and then I'll be able to comment on those. But we also have some pre-submitted questions as well from the form that it's like the Airtable form. Now it is automatic, or pardon me, it has an anonymous feature. So if you want to ask anonymous questions, that is a place to do it. I'll refresh it probably about halfway through. But otherwise, just post your questions in the chat on the side, and I will be here to answer everything. Theo's being a bit of a burden today, so he might be a problem, but we shall see. Okay, let me just make sure I have live chat on, not just top chat. Netherlands and Vegas, awesome. That's so cool. Love seeing everyone hanging out. Okay, so let's just jump right in to respect everybody's time. Again, post any questions you have in the chat, and I'm going to start on the ones that got sent to me. Now, if you're worried about not being able to listen to this whole thing, don't worry. The replay will be up automatically and you'll be able to watch for as long as you want, basically, which is great. So the first question is from Anonymous, and it just says, growing followers, generating traffic on social media. So I think it's meant to be a question, but I'm not 100% sure. For growing followers, I would need to know what channel we're talking about, because it is very different per channel, unfortunately. So it's not easy to say like, okay, this is exactly how you do it. Basically, the basis of all of my strategies have just been providing as much value as possible. I really believe in like a Hermione Granger kind of approach to things, where I like to just try to be incredibly, incredibly helpful and a bit of a know-it-all, I guess. And that's fun for me. And then that's been where I've been able to grow an audience, is because people started to trust me on this stuff. So I do have a YouTube video coming. I know I said it would happen like 2 weeks ago, and I'm working on it. That is going to be all about like how I started my business using Facebook groups, and basically how that started everything for me with She Knows SEO. It's the reason I have the name She Knows SEO. So I will be doing a video on that, and that'll talk a bit more about this. Then generating traffic on social media. Again, I don't know if this person means like generating traffic to the socials or from socials. Again, it is a different strategy either way. So I would need more specifics here. But I know it was an anonymous question, so I can't really get follow-ups. If that person is here, though, please add your, send another anonymous one, or if you want to post in the chat and like not claim it as yours, that's fine, but just like kind of ask additional follow-up questions, that's great. Okay, then we have Carol, who asked, I'm confused about writing for Google going forward. Right now, I have switched to writing for social media, Pinterest, Flipboard, Facebook. I bought your zero volume keyword course, which I think by that, Carol means my 6 months of 50K masterclass, which is like zero volume keywords. I don't have any courses that are just zero volume keywords, to be clear. So I just want to make that clear. But so I don't know if it's that or the SEO roadmap, but because I don't recognize the name, I do believe it's from the 50K masterclass. Okay, I bought your zero volume keyword course, and I'm not sure if all of the keywords I found are not worth writing articles for now. So essentially, the way to succeed with Google right now, it is different. Again, plan content around this. I've been moving. I will eventually get some videos up about this too. But essentially, the way to write for SEO now, I sent a newsletter about this recently. It's really about writing for the audience. And I know everyone says like write for the user, write for the user. So what does that actually mean? Essentially, we want to plan out content silos and then topic clusters underneath it that fully answer the user's question, because no user just has one question. And I think we used to believe that like that had to all be in a single post, and that's not the case anymore. Now it's about the journey through your site. So the problem with like older SEO strategies was that it was really focused on getting new users on your site. And kind of no one cared about keeping anyone on your site. Like it was all about 1 million page views a month or something. But it didn't matter if those were like 75% new people every single time. It was majorly focused on new traffic, not about like the community and keeping people with you. The sites that I had that have like been totally fine with these updates, and a lot of the sites that I've seen that have succeeded through this, the thing that I've noticed with them is that they weren't doing that. So they weren't just going for the keywords that were like 100% I can rank for this and then I'm just done, check mark. Like it's still relevant. I'm not saying it's not like out of left field, but a lot of these sites, what they did is they also wrote posts that like weren't for Google. And what that means, again, I'm going to define all of this, don't worry, because I know a lot of people are using these buzz terms. But essentially what that means is that they wrote posts that helped their users regardless of whether or not they could rank for it. So to some extent, that means keywords that are zero volume that maybe just like weren't really on Google's radar. In other cases, though, it meant things that they genuinely could not rank for, but it'd be weird if they didn't have it. So I have like my build in public case study, the build in public case study site on this channel where I go over more in depth, like how I created that site. It's doing great. And one of the things that I did there, like it's called Ottawa Things to Do. So I wrote things to do posts, even though I could not rank for them, especially at the beginning. I think like my fourth post on the site and the first couple I like migrated over from my other site, like they were, yeah, like it was an Ottawa things to do post. And so the reason that that site, in my opinion, succeeded in part is because I wasn't using 100% SEO strategies where it was like every single post needs to be in the top 10. And if it's not, we knock it out. And all these things that like I myself was also doing on other sites. So to me, that's really the difference now. So when it comes to like zero volume keywords, it used to be that like, okay, if it shows up and it's even like vaguely related, write on it. I no longer think that's the case. I think that the best way to do it now is to make sure it fits into your topic cluster. And I've been doing Voxer coaching last week and this week. And something that I've been going over with a lot of my students is that we're going through their systems and we're finding massive gaps in their content. And I like to structure my content in a topic cluster using an AIDA funnel. So that's the awareness, interest, desire, action funnel. It's a marketing funnel. Ahrefs actually has like a really good image of this on their website that I recommend checking out if you need a visual. But essentially with that funnel, you're going from like someone learning what a thing is to being kind of interested to do the thing to really wanting to do the thing all the way down to them like actually taking action and doing the thing. So for a travel blog, for example, that's going to start off with like, I don't know, I want to go to a beach. What countries have good beaches, especially like in July? Where should I go in July in Europe that's hot and has a beach? Then someone will come to your site from that and you're going to send them on a funnel journey through a trip planning process. So let's say it's a Rome blog. I know Rome doesn't have beaches. I immediately negated my own argument. Let's just say hot in July. Okay. So we'll go from like hot in July. Okay, Rome's on that list. Do you want to know more about Rome? Here are some posts about Rome. And then we're going to send them over to our Rome topic cluster, or it could even be a silo. Very much depends on how the site's structured. In this case, let's say the site is about Europe and summer, so we'll focus on like Rome topic cluster. You want to have things like a things to do post. You're going to want like where to stay. You're going to want itineraries. You're going to want how to get around. Like, what are all the questions someone has when they're booking a trip? And we need to answer all of them. So zero volume keywords that were like Roman gladiators naked ? No, don't write on that. That's weird. And it's not really relevant to what your audience is doing. And so I find like zero volume keywords, the way that they still work, and I talked about this kind of in that course actually, is that they're working if the content isn't there on Google. But you can't just randomly pick them anymore. You have to make sure that they fit into your topic clusters really concretely. So even if you never got traffic off of Google for them, you would be able to get internal linked traffic. Now, I also have this theory that posts basically have to have one primary traffic source. And that isn't necessarily going to be where most of their traffic comes from. But when you're writing them, there needs to be one thing that you're focusing on. So for example, if you're writing a post for Bing versus Google, it is different, even though it's very, very similar. And yes, there's going to be some overlap. There is a difference because when you're optimizing for a single channel, it has its own algorithm. So you have to optimize for that algorithm primarily. And then, yeah, if you can optimize for others, great. But to some extent, every post is going to have like one channel in your head that it's meant to go to. And some posts aren't going to have any channels. The thing that's going to drive traffic to them is internal linking. And I think that that's something that people forget a lot, where they think every single post is an entry point, and that's not the case. A lot of posts are part of the funnel when people are already on your site. So that happens a lot with like individual reviews as well, even if there isn't a lot of traffic. But as for, sorry, this is me going on a bit of a tangent, but like as for writing for Google going forward, some of those posts that you write for other networks may also work. I think the main thing to do, no matter what channel you're working on, is like sit down and really evaluate your business. Who are we talking to? What is our marketing plan? What is the journey that we're sending them on? Like, what is the transformation that they are going to have? Because a lot of blogs treat it less like a business in that sense of like a marketing business. And I'm not using the usual buzzwords of like, oh, it has to be a business. It means you need 10 social media channels. That's irrelevant. What it really means is that you need to like have a clear audience journey. And the audience journey isn't really just come to my site once and then dip, which is kind of what a lot of SEO used to be. Now, I should also say, because people are going to get mad at me, I am not saying that if you got hit by this update, you were doing these things wrong. Sites that were doing these things correctly still got hit, usually because something else was happening, because there are like 100 conditions that caused any site to get hit by the HCU or by the March update. I'm not disparaging your site. I'm not saying that every site that did well is doing this exactly. I am saying that this is best practice for literally any business. Like, this is a basic funnel that everyone needs to think about and set up, especially when you're thinking about email marketing and products, when you're thinking about affiliates, when you are thinking about selling services. Your site is meant to be a funnel. It doesn't exist in a vacuum. No individual post ever exists in a vacuum. So that's my long-winded answer, but I think it's going to answer some of the other questions that also came up because I started reading them before this. Okay, Mia asks, any ideas how to recover tier 1 traffic? I lost 50% of my tier 1 traffic in all rankings since April. US, UK, Canada, Australia, and only rank in non-English speaking countries for whatever reason. My traffic is still increasing as we're getting into high season in Europe, but only getting visitors from Europe. So essentially the HCU and the March core update really were like English Western countries first. So we're seeing like a huge uptick in Indian spam sites, especially that's the word I want. Like Lily Ray's been covering this a lot, getting tons of traffic, especially from like AI overviews and stuff, because they just didn't get hit. So it means that you got a classifier, but the classifier works for an algorithm that's kind of centralized to a location. So essentially, you might have a classifier that means that you can't undo that with those locations. So I would test it and try to write things that appeal to that specific region. So look at keywords that currently are getting a lot of US traffic. I do also think if it's rankings, not traffic, then it's an update hit. If it's traffic, but your rankings are maintained, it might be those AI overviews, because we have those they have those in the US, but we don't have them in Canada yet. So like, we don't really have issues with that as much, but they're basically everywhere in the US for like half the queries you search. So it's going to massively impact traffic there, where it's not going to in other regions to some extent. So that could be part of it. Some other ways to attract people from like the US, let's say, or the UK, look at trending topics in the area and try to write on those. Try to find questions that they specifically ask, and then go to other traffic sources to attract them. So Pinterest is very, very US heavy. Definitely Facebook groups. You can set Facebook groups as well to only let in people from certain regions. Now, I will say I've never done that because I want people from everywhere. But I'm not primarily focused on ads for any of my site. So for me, that wouldn't be a problem. And I'm guessing if you're trying to focus on tier 1, that ads are a big part of that. And then a lot of it'll just be like internal linking to keep the tier 1 people around. Now, I know people that have a ton of like, I don't know what tier it would be, other tier traffic, that still got onto like Journey and Mediavine and stuff. They just needed more traffic. So also, if you just increase your traffic overall, that could still benefit you. I know I'm not an Ezoic fan. Y'all might remember my Ezoic review on She Knows SEO. But if you have over 50,000 page views, they seem to be nicer to you. So then in that case, probably good to just go there, and they don't care where your traffic comes from, as long as it's like not spam. Anonymous asks, is getting backlinks via guest posting still a huge focus after the Google updates? I've seen mixed messages on this. Thanks for answering. I think I've said this a few times, but I'm losing track of where I've said things, honestly. Moving has made my head spin a bit. But essentially, guest posting is no longer just like, okay, the best way to do guest posting now is to treat it like PR. So treat it as though it's not offering you link juice. Treat it as though it's about getting you name recognition and traffic. I'm noticing that like newer sites are able to grow faster without really needing a lot of backlinks. However, like one or two is good, but I definitely wouldn't be doing like 100 guest posts or something the way people used to. And I wouldn't be doing it just for high DA. I would kind of ignore that side of things to some extent. And this is something that I was noticing even like in kind of November, December when I ran a terrible test and then messed up a site because I bought some bad links and it was a bad idea. Anyway, so with guest posts, the way that they're working best right now is when you treat them as a PR strategy where it's about getting traffic from people clicking through to you from that site. If you get like link juice from it, great. That's a bonus. But the main focus is more about like that name recognition, the networking with the person who runs that site, and then getting in front of their audience. So you want them to have an audience, even if it is like 10,000 people. But a lot of like DA70 sites have like 1,000 page views a month. Like they're not doing great. So don't do those. Also make sure that the site, like I would be more vigilant now. Sorry, you can tell that like my coffee is starting to wear off. More vigilant now to make sure that like they're not linking to anything bad. So I would like check their link profile to make sure that they're not linking out to like spam sites or casino sites. I would make sure that the overall profile seems pretty safe, but I think it's a fine way to collaborate. I don't think it is the hack that it used to be, but I also don't think it's a necessary hack the way it used to be. There's some decent correlations that I think Cyrus Shepard was posting or someone else on Twitter about number of links correlating with people who got hit by the updates. And usually it was in like the thousands and thousands. So more like the big spammy sites versus us doing a couple guest posts, but I know that like manual penalties were kind of doled out for that. I think it largely comes down to with backlinks, the problem is if you accidentally have a similar profile to a spammy site, you could get caught up in that, and that's not great. Okay, I'm going to answer some of the ones from like the live chat, and then I'll go back to the pre-submitted ones. So please ask away in the live chat. Also, I apologize if I pronounce people's name wrong. Sumanta asks, what do you think? Game over for informational content websites? Please reply. I think that the game is over for websites that are just going to be ad websites. Yes. I think that those were not businesses fully. Same with like sites that were just about like shitting out a ton of affiliate posts and then like dipping, because that was a common term in the industry and I'm not a fan of that. I think it is more about intentionality and building something that is like sends customers on a proper journey. And it's not just about like, okay, I need to get like 5 million page views this month and then I can pay my rent sort of a thing. I think it's much more about quality overall. And again, I think to some extent, some sites that did that properly got hit, unfortunately, and I'm hoping that they'll be able to eventually undo that. We'll see. But currently, I would say it's definitely not sustainable to just think ads are going to be the best traffic source. I think it's not sustainable to just try and like review 1,000 Amazon products and shove them on your site, especially because like Amazon could change their entire platform at any time again. So yeah, I don't think game over for helpful sites that have another business model. But what we're really seeing as well with the HCU and the core update is that it's sites that really like, they had that one track focus. And I think it was quite short-sighted. And like, to be fair, it was working. So I get why we all did it. But I think longevity wise and in that whole like do helpful content that benefits the user, it isn't about like Google. I think that's where it comes from a lot more. And unfortunately, some sites that were doing that did some stuff that mimicked the bad sites, even if it wasn't like with spammy intentions. And then I think they got caught up in it. And then I think everything just kind of like collapsed, I don't know, underneath the weight of all of it, unfortunately. And a lot of sites got hit. Okay, then Marcus asks, hi, Nina, do you think there are still opportunities for starting a blog this year? SEO won't be my main strategy for traffic. I still think SEO is the best strategy to get started. I have another video planned on like how I would start a blog right now, but like SEO is really working, especially for like sites that are under 6 months old. Unless you do something like actively awful, you're going to get a ton of traffic really quickly. Um, Now you need to also, again, like use proper practices so you're not going to get slammed by an update later. But I do think diversifying faster is definitely important. Now, again, I think blogs that are just trying to get traffic from ads, I think that's out. I don't think that's a thing anymore. I don't think it's sustainable anyway. And I've always been a course girly. Love my courses. I think is really fun to do. I have a couple $7 ones on my travel site that do very well. And I would really recommend making courses and then thinking of it more about like they can be almost as passive as ad income, to be honest, and they're more sustainable because you own your income source. And that means that like your ad network can't kick you out. There's not going to be like, I don't know, if there's fluctuations, you get to learn that a lot better and kind of be in control of it to some extent. And also, unlike affiliates, like where Amazon like slashed their commissions in half a number of years ago, that's not going to happen because you own the thing. So I think that that is a good strategy to think about the end of your funnel first and then work backwards on how you get there. I wouldn't start a blog for the sake of starting a blog right now. So think about like do you want active or passive income in 5 years? Like where do you see this blog and like how are you living your life? What's your business with it? What what's the plan essentially? And then start reverse engineering that. Like, okay, what are some steps to get you there? And what are the steps for the next year or 6 months or 3 months? And then start implementing. That's what I would do. I think Facebook groups, newsletters, SEO is kind of a great like bundle together. And Pinterest is good too. Natalie's taking over my Pinterest for me. I'm not good at it. I don't like it. I will not do it. So I still think that it's there, but I think that we have to build in the community elements a lot more. So the framework I would do is like audience research and niche research first and like spend a lot of time on the strategy. I know it's not the most fun thing for most people. For me, it's really fun. But spend time building that strategy, like write out your plan for your content for the next 3 months. And then think about the way you're funneling people on your site itself. Then you're going to write the content. I would for those posts consider, okay, what is the primary traffic source going to be? Even if right now you don't have a newsletter, you don't have a Facebook group, you don't have Pinterest, you can still write posts that you know will do well there, because you know it can't really work for SEO. Like a brand new site with a Rome pillar, you kind of need things to do in Rome for your audience, but you're not going to rank for it. That's okay. Maybe I'll write it with like a more catchy headline that I know could work better for my newsletter eventually. Put that out there. Then, so it'd be, yeah, basically audience research, create the content. Then I would worry about like capturing the people to some extent, with like starting a newsletter capture form, starting a Facebook group or something. Either one, you can kind of interchange them, and then later you'll introduce the other if you have time. Then I would start that kind of passively while I start working on affiliate posts to monetize. So I'd probably do about 20 posts, then move on to affiliates. Start with affiliates, and then once I have some of those up and running, then I'm going to worry about fostering that community, because you need to like have it up for a minute. So then foster the community. Then from there, I would, where am I? Yeah. Okay. I'm at stage 3 kind of. So after I foster the community, then I'm going to go and create a digital product and then make sure I have a funnel kind of running through that. And then I'm going to keep kind of repeating that cycle to some extent of like, going through, I kind of treat it like those are like quarterly roles almost, where like the kind of content creation for the website is one section, and intersperses however you want. I like to like theme my quarters. So that's how I would do it. Yeah, and then add in more traffic sources when you have time and availability, and maybe could outsource. Okay, Margaret asked, how much do you use generative AI tools yourself for writing your content? What are your favorite tools? ChatGPT all the time. Love, love, love ChatGPT. It is so much fun. It is my favorite. It is my go-to. Koala just doesn't really work for travel content and for SEO content, especially for like the type of like in-depth deep dives I'm doing. Of the one clicks, it would be the best one, but I like really unique content. So to me, it can't do that. So I don't really see the point. Yeah. So for me, not really my favorite. Mostly it's Yeah, ChatGPT, honestly. I used to use Jasper. They did an update, and I didn't like the way they did the update because they removed some, like, features that I think are really important for people and made you have to pay more for them. Not a fan, so I no longer really use it. But to be fair, half of that's spite. It's still a decent tool, but it's mostly spite. And then Reword is the other one that I use. I have a tutorial on that and ChatGPT on my channel. I think I have a whole playlist of ChatGPT stuff. Then for ChatGPT, it kind of depends. Like for writing actual posts, I'm a really fast writer, so like I do have ChatGPT. Like I coded some custom GPTs that can write things faster for me. I have a lot of those, but I usually use them more for like the things that I don't like doing. Like, I like writing. So like that Google algorithm leak post, I wrote that whole thing. It took like maybe an hour, hour and a half maybe to do. It took most of the day to like research though, so it took time. But I use ChatGPT more to like format the tables and then like format things, proofread for me, cut things down even because I usually write way too much. Then reformat it into social posts and reformat it into newsletter copy and things like that. Do my metas, do my alt text, like so. I usually use it for those bits. That being said, I definitely do sometimes use it for writing still. I've been writing less recently because I was away for a bit. So yeah, but recently I think I just used it like 2 days ago to write a post for one of my sites. So that's probably my best one. Okay, then should we write self content or should we use AI content? Write your content first. Always do things before you outsource, before you like never outsource even to AI until you understand the processes, until you understand what the KPIs will be. You want to know like what the output, like what a good quality output is and what the metrics are that you need to consider. So I'm really not a fan, and I did this myself early on where like I outsourced Pinterest to a VA who I thought was like more of a strategist, and then they just like completely screwed me over and it was awful. I'm not a fan of that. I don't recommend it, but I didn't know what to look for. So they just kept saying like, "Oh, you won't see any traffic for 6 months." And I was like, "Yeah, but it says I'm getting clicks." Turns out they had sent them to their site. It was a whole thing. So for me, like I didn't know where to even look to find that. So we want to make sure that we understand what great content is first, and then we worry about like the quality first, getting better at it, and then we worry about getting more efficient. I think most people really focus on speed. Don't worry about speed. I would rather everyone write one post a month and it is like such a good post. It's so helpful to your audience and you grow maybe a little bit slower. That's okay. As long as it's helpful to your audience, it's going to like keep paying off for you long term and you're going to get faster. It used to take me weeks to do one single post. Now like I can do multiple in a day. It's very much just like a wait and see thing. So I would say use AI. I'm not saying not to use it. I'm not a fan of one clicks really. Like even like honestly, when I was saying koala is okay, it is, but always add your own spin. And with AI content, remember that you don't legally own it until you've edited it because a non-human entity created it. So unless you make edits, you legally have no copyright claim to it. So someone could just take it and use it. So be careful, protect yourself. Yeah, just be careful. Marcus says, SEO will be part of the strategy, maybe not priority number one. I'd like to build a community and email list. The problem with building a community and email list is if no one's there to get to it, that's kind of the problem. And then you need to do more active outreach to get people there. And that's fine. It's okay to do active outreach. It's okay to pay for ads. I'm not really an ads person. It's just not something I enjoy doing. I had good success. I mean, I had like a 3 times return when I ran ads. I just didn't really like the process. And I felt like, why, when I can get great people without needing to do that? So just you have to think a bit about how you're going to get people to you and whether you're going to need to actively outreach to them all the time or pay for it immediately, especially on the outset. What are your thoughts of having a persona instead of using a real name? One of my friends just asked me this morning. I am so incapable of not being 100% myself and being 100% honest. I get in trouble for it a lot in my family. I think it's the autism, unfortunately. But like I couldn't do it because I wouldn't remember it and I couldn't maintain it. Even like you don't have to use your real name, but I would say use your real personality and then just be really careful about the name. Facebook just came out with a feature where you can like behave in groups and even create groups under like a persona under your own Facebook account. So you don't need to make like a new one, but you're going to be able to basically be you a bit differently. And I think if I had started again today, I would have done that mostly to protect my friends and family because like I can't add other people on Facebook anymore because my friends and family are there and they didn't consent to having like their childhood photos and stuff being public record. So I don't want to like I don't know. And I had like a bad experience last year with people like starting to send death threats and stuff to me. So it just felt not good. So I would really appreciate like that privacy, I guess. Equally, typically that's not something that happens. So I wouldn't, yeah, I mean, I think I'm unfortunately an exception to the rule there. But I would say try to just be yourself at least, even if you're not using your real name. I'm a fan of just be 100% you. It's fine. Okay, then Sonia asks, what does direct mean as a source of traffic in G4? How are people going directly to my site? So technically, it's supposed to mean that they are typing in the URL. So like if I typed in sheknowsseo.co or I'm copying the link and pasting it into like my URL bar, that's how they're directly getting to it. There's no intermediary in between. However, it is glitched a lot. So sometimes Pinterest traffic shows up there. Sometimes newsletter traffic shows up there. Sometimes Discover traffic shows up there. It is hard to be 100% certain where they came from, unfortunately, with the direct kind of feature there. So, and because with direct, you can't really optimize for direct anyway, it's kind of okay that it's glitchy. It is unfortunate that it's not 100% clear on Pinterest, but at least you can go to Pinterest and get like the clear analytics there to analyze. So not the end of the world in that sense, I would say, but it is weird. I know that it does that. Okay, I'm going to go back to the pre-submitted questions, but please keep asking in the chat and I will come back to them. I should also take a drink because I'm so bad at regulating. Okay, I have another anonymous one that says, what would you do if you were starting a new travel blog today? I basically already went over that. Sorry, jumped ahead. But yeah, I'm also going to do a full video on that with like an example because I think that's helpful for people to know. Okay, we have Jacqueline or Jaslyn. I think Jacqueline. I should have asked for pronunciations. I have a Shopify site and I'm adding a blog component. My Shopify theme has a blog option, but do you think I should write the blog on WordPress and just link to the WordPress site? My concerns are one, functionality. Seems like WordPress offers more optimization options specific to blogs and for photo/media/etc. And two, tracking traffic and clicks. What are your thoughts? So to answer it in reverse, as I usually do, I don't know why, it's a weird thing that I do. For tracking traffic, you just need Google Analytics installed and you can install that on Shopify. So you shouldn't have issues there. I'm not super familiar with Shopify. I've like logged in a couple times, but I've never like fully deep dived into it. So I don't actually know what the photos and media options are in it. To my knowledge, they still have alt text, but I do think because you don't have like WordPress plugins to optimize it, you'd probably manually need to take them over to something like Tiny PNG to compress them, which like isn't the end of the world. A lot of people do that as a free alternative to Short Pixel, which is my go-to. But I wouldn't know for sure how that would limit you on optimization. I will say WordPress blogs tend to do better as blogs because you have more schema customization, you have more flexibility with plugins and things like that. There are ways to like tie WordPress and Shopify together with like a subdomain kind of thing. So that could work. It kind of depends on the overall strategy, unfortunately. So I feel like I'd need a lot more context to be able to weigh in fully. I think at a glance, I would, because I'm comfortable on WordPress and I'm okay with subdomains, I would make it a subdomain and like connect them. But I'm not 1,000% sure. I would say I'm like 90% sure based on the information I have here. Okay, then we have Ozella. You are a saint because you gave me pronunciation. Thank you. How important is the domain name for SEO and user experience purposes? For example, oh, this is such a good question. It gives me so much context. I love it. I started a printable activities blog and have the word activity sheets in the domain name, but I'd really like to expand beyond just printables and do kids crafts related to my specific niche on this blog as well. The domain name is 3 months old and just starting to get traction on Google, about 200 sessions in the last month and a little over 300 sessions from Pinterest. Wondering if I can add everything to this domain or should I switch to a more general domain? So instead of activity sheet, something like activity hub or activity corner. Such a good question. Okay, so domain name, there's so many different theories around this. The short answer is it doesn't matter. Just go for it as long as you can brand it. That's going to be the main thing. So a lot of people think like exact match domains are like the thing to do. And I've meant to like record a full video on this for a while, but like that's why I named my case study site Ottawa Things to Do as I was testing that. So I think it may have helped a little bit with like the overall post, except that like topical authority would have helped so much more. What I find sometimes happens is if you have like solofemaletravelguides.com or something, and you have a post that doesn't have solo female travel in it, like at all, it's not in the keyword, you can still rank for the solo female travel equivalent by accident, but usually not super highly still, like usually in like the top 30, but not really on the first page. So it probably does add something, but not the most. Now, the main issue is it's very hard to brand. So for example, Ottawa Things to Do is a really common search term. And so while I have a post on it and the site is named that, people can't find my website. If you just search Ottawa Things to Do blog, nothing like well not nothing, a bunch of stuff comes up, not me. I think I'm on like the third or fourth page, so it makes it very hard for your dedicated audience to find your specific site, and that's a problem because then they can't get to us. So we want to make sure that we are able to be found. That being said, equally, my main site does not have travel in the name at all. It doesn't have anything that indicates my niche because it wasn't my niche to begin with. It's kind of a Canadian joke phrase, and Canadians would be the only ones that get it. So like it's been fine and like nothing has really changed there. So I wouldn't stress, honestly. I would just keep it. And especially because you have it and it's getting traction, I would just kind of keep going with it. Now, if you were considering pivoting to a new domain anyway, because maybe this one got hit and you were like, should I not? This one got hit by the HCU or something and I can't get the classifier to go away. And I know I'm going to like make new content that'll be better. And I was already like hemming and hawing over the brand. Then yeah, I would do it. But don't rock the boat just to rock the boat. I mean, think about like iPads. We all like mock that name so much when it first came out. Like everyone was like, "Oh, it's like a feminine hygiene product." Now we just say it. Like it's just, we're just like, "Oh yeah, of course it's an iPad. Why would that be weird?" We just get used to the names of things. So once your audience gets used to your brand, they kind of won't care, and then it'll be fine. Okay, Shelly asks, oh my God, I'm going to kill this Chrome extension. I'm testing a Chrome extension to do like Facebook group auto email collecting. Not having a good experience this week. It's been very annoying. I will do a review on it later, but don't recommend right now. It's an ADHD nightmare. Okay, so Shelly asks, one, I have a food blog and I don't know what happened. Also, I should say, people are like saying nice things and saying hello and thank you. I'm just not reading that bit. People are not being rude, just to be clear. I have a food blog and I don't know what happened, but my traffic is dropping each day. Earlier, I was getting 20 to 21,000 monthly traffic. Now it has dropped to 5 to 6 monthly. I changed hosting, disavow spam links, changed theme, but I can't find any solution and my post rankings also dropped. What can be the reason? Probably the March core update, or even on June 5th, was it June 5th? Yeah, the June 5th spam update hit. Then we're still technically in the March 5th or the May 5th, pardon me. The May 5th site reputation abuse update is technically still going, and the algorithmic part hasn't even started yet. So it's probably a Google update, in which case you probably got a classifier put on your site, and refer back to what I said before about like the strategies I would use going forward, which are strategies I think are like algorithm second, audience first. And I mean, every algorithm there, like it's just good practice for your audience and for your business. And then whatever platform you go to, it kind of works on. Then the specifics of finding keywords just vary by those individual platforms and maybe like the little ways you optimize. But ultimately, yeah, I think that's going to be the best thing to do. Changing host shouldn't have changed anything significant unless your analytics got disconnected, but your rankings wouldn't have also got disconnected unless something happened to your sitemap, but I doubt that. Disavowing spammy links kind of does stuff, not the most, but I don't know that would do it ton. I suspect it's probably more related to the individual keywords that you have and like what you were ranking for. It could also be if traffic dropped more than your rankings dropped. It could also be some of the new stuff that Google's put in at the top, like AI overviews and things like that. Now, if it's traffic from other sources as well, it's going to depend on those places like Pinterest. Pinterest has had a lot lower reach apparently lately because everyone's posting over there. Facebook, kind of the same thing. Facebook pages are having slightly lower reach because everyone's like kind of jumping to it now. So it could just be a reach issue. It could also be content needs some updates, things like that. Then Shelly also asks, since the last 6 to 7 months, my post doesn't show a featured image on Google search result. That is a known issue, and Google is being so weird about it. They're like removing anyone's comments in the Google forum when people ask about it because it's been happening for months. And like people are upset about it. And to some extent, like Google just controls that. But now they've made it like impossible to make it happen for some reason. I don't know why they've decided that's a good idea. I don't know why they've decided most things are good ideas. So it's really annoying. It is very much a known issue, and we just have to wait and see, unfortunately. And it is so incredibly frustrating. And it's very funny watching how they get rid of posts in their forum about it. Okay, we've Angela, Q1. If you cannot find a main keyword to rank for with a reasonable score, but obviously need to write the post, good question, should you still write the post to a low score, even if that is only 50 or below? So the example was a things to do post that they gave. And so it kind of depends on who your audience is. So for example, if I have a pet blog, it's okay to just do a more specific things to do in LA with dogs. But if I have a site that is like solo travel, okay, things to do in X for solo travelers would also be fine, but I'm not going to like go with a lower score that would root out a bunch of my audience. So let's say I have a solo travel blog, but it's not just for women. I'm not going to write solo female travel guide to that place if I want the men to read it as well. So then I might do solo travel, but I'm treating that more as like a title edition and less and like a pain point for my audience and less as a keyword. So to some extent, I just write those ones because I think it's just important to have. If I can add on the qualifier of my specific audience, I will, but I don't worry that much, to be honest. And I largely think of them for internal linking purposes. So that's kind of where I go back to like, there are some posts that are audience kind of attractors. And then there's some posts that are like funnel posts on your site that are moving people through that AIDA funnel, which like most people talk about when they're talking about like newsletters for courses and stuff like that and like welcome sequences. And like upon reflection, for like a lot of how my business has succeeded and a lot of how like my affiliate succeeded, that's something I've been really focused on is like how I'm telling a story on my website and how I am, yeah, like what experience I'm curating for my audience and how I'm moving them through that. So I think that that's done really well for me and that that's one of the reasons for my success. And I didn't realize other people didn't think that way. So it's interesting, but I think it's been the best thing I've done for any of my sites. So I would recommend taking a look at it. It's something that I teach a lot in the SEO roadmap, which the SEO roadmap is getting a facelift. It is becoming a not just SEO course, which it hasn't been for forever. It covers Facebook groups, it covers YouTube, it covers so many things now. But I really need to rename it so that's clear. But yeah, it is kind of a masterclass in all this stuff. Okay, question 2. With Google updates, are you best having a main keyword than only including no more than 10 other keywords? Is that still classed as keyword stuffing? Keyword stuffing is when you synthetically add keywords that don't belong there. That's it. So if you are using a keyword in a way that feels unnatural or you're putting it in places it doesn't belong, that's keyword stuffing. It doesn't come down to specific numbers. So having a main keyword, you're not going to use it as often as people were like back, especially in like 2008, it was very much a numbers game, like just shove your keyword everywhere. And even last year, we were starting to see like fewer and fewer kind of uses of the primary keyword, but still like maybe one every 500 words or so. But it did vary based on the post and the keyword itself, like a long tail keyword, like where should I take my dog in Rome if he's reactive and 4 pounds or something like that. You're not going to say that 8 times in a post because it'd be weird if you did. But if your post is on like a hotel of a certain name, you're going to keep saying the name of the hotel. So that's fine. As for secondary keywords, I look for the most relevant keywords. I'd say 10 is probably a decent number, but I'm thinking of 10 kind of unique secondary keywords. So like if we're doing like things to do in Rome, then must do activities, like it's very much a different way of saying it, but Rome must do activities and must do activities Rome, that's one to me because Google figures out that those are the same. So I'm not going to use each one. And so like I know people, especially in the travel niche, that we're teaching to like put in like 700 secondary keywords and like every single one needs to be in there. And I tried it and I was like, this looks insane. Like in a 1,000-word post, 700 of my words are now like just the same thing over and over again. So don't worry too much there. I would focus more on, again, the quality of the message, and then go through at the end and be like, okay, can I just rephrase some of these things without like massively changing it? Or what I often do is I'll think about when I'm doing the outline, I look at the secondary keywords and then I walk away from them. And then any that stick in my mind enough to like end up in the outline kind of accidentally, or just naturally, because of course that would be there, that feels fine to me. But I'm not too worried about like optimizing for every single thing under the sun. However, when I do a content audit, I am more likely to optimize for a few more secondary keywords. But the first time, I kind of let them do their thing a bit more. And then I use Query Hunter when I'm doing my audits to like help me find extra keywords. Or I created like a Looker Data Studio that's off your site and it doesn't require a Chrome extension. And it filters your analytics and your Google Search Console at the same time. That's in the SEO roadmap. I didn't mean for this to be a promo of the roadmap. This is supposed to be just to celebrate 4,000 followers because that's so freaking cool. And I never thought I'd have 4,000 followers on this channel. But yeah, it is in there. So that's, yeah. Okay, then Q3, how many freebies do you think you should have on your site? It depends. So essentially, with freebies, the best way to think of it is, again, go back to that customer journey and that funnel. What is the end point? Okay, now how are we going to get people there? So, for example, let's say she knows SEO. The SEO roadmap is the end point. All roads end at the SEO roadmap, or its new name, which I will reveal probably soon. I don't know. I don't have a clear plan on when I'm sharing the new name, but it has a new name. But let's say the SEO roadmap still. Okay, so how do I get someone there? Because like $1,200 is a big investment, just like cold. So I need people to get to know me better. So how am I going to do that? I'm probably going to sell them something else first so that they can trust me. But it needs to be a low ticket offer so that it's a lower barrier to entry. So I have that one. Okay, well, initially it started off as the Dominate Your DA ebook, and that's like $47 or $49. So we go back one step. Okay, now how do I get someone to buy the Dominate Your DA ebook? Well, it could be a freebie. It could be another lower ticket offer that's like $9. In my case, I do the guest posting kit, so it's $7. Okay, now how do I get people to that one? And that's where I start thinking of the freebie. What's the freebie that gets them to that step? We don't need a freebie that necessarily gets them all the way to like, okay, you've hired me as like your second brain and you're gonna like keep me on retainer or something. We're not jumping all the way to that. We're working on like one pain point at a problem, one pain point at a time to solve a single problem. And so that's kind of the way that I think of it. And I think that's the way it works best. So when you're thinking of that, every cluster and silo on your site should also have an end goal in mind. Some of them are going to be the same. So if you have a solo female travel site and you have like your ultimate solo female travel course, and the way you get them there is that you have I don't know, here's a script to like tell your dad or to tell your partner that you want to solo female travel without them. Here's like a super simple, easy script. That'd be a really good freebie. Anyone with a solo female travel site, steal that. That's a good freebie idea. So make that little script for them that like, hey, I have a partner. I want to travel by myself. Bye. So you need to have a way to say that. So you'd make that. And then any post where that's applicable and the content in that funnel is directing people there, that's where you'd put it. Now, I do think every post should have some sort of like clear intention, whether that's affiliate or selling your own product or newsletter, or even bringing them into your Facebook group community. There should kind of be one focus of that post and then a secondary focus. Just like I talked about with traffic sources, we want to have somewhere where people are like very clearly going. This is kind of a thing with newsletters as well. People always say like every newsletter does one thing, every course does one thing. It can do a couple extra things, but it really has one thing that it's focusing on. So in that case, you might end up with a few, but you might end up with one for your whole site. I mean, I have like 12, I think, now for She Knows SEO. And a lot of that was because they were fun to make. And I was testing things. And so you will need to test some, but ultimately, like two of my freebies do the absolute best. And that's partially due to the fact that I tested them and figured out that they convert best. So now I promote them the most. But equally, it's partially because like they are the most relevant to the things I keep talking about and solve that first problem. So like the SEO content audit checklist, it's in the description of this video. It's in the description of like every video on this channel of mine, because it is like the most common thing people say is like, okay, I started a site. Now what? My traffic's kind of stuck. I don't know. I thought I knew SEO. It's kind of like, now what? So I created a 12-page ebook guide essentially for free that walks like step by step through my exact strategies to update content, but it kind of also covers how I would start a site too, because it's kind of the same thing. So I find it most applicable to anything I talk about with SEO. However, with AI, not really the right thing. So I have an AI one. Then for travel blogs, I have my Backlinking Pro. I don't remember what I called it. I just changed it recently. Backlink Boost Pro, I think it's called, which is a freebie that helps. Initially, it was just for travel bloggers. Now it's for everyone. Helps people find backlink opportunities and like where they can get backlinks and guest post and even like get podcasts and stuff. So that's that. And so that's going to be what I promote more when I talk to like general travel bloggers where they aren't SEO specific or something. So that's how we need to think of it. Then for resource libraries, I'm not a fan. I'm a fan of everything pages, which are more intentional. So people can go and grab every individual thing that they want. Everything pages are taught by Elizabeth Goddard. She is my god, essentially, of course creation stuff. She taught me so much that like she really centered me on a lot of this stuff and is really like where I got a lot of my low ticket ideas of like, or like my love of low ticket products. And yeah, she has a really good course on that. But if you go to sheknowsseo.co/everything, that's an everything page. It's just like a content silo page of all of your freebies and your paid offers. So someone can find them at a glance. And it is so helpful. It is so easy to see like what you're about then and what you focus on. So that's why I have it. Okay. Then we have, oh, did I already answer this one? Yes, I did. There we go. We have some water. Okay. Abdel Bassett says, how can I make $500 per month with display ads? Can you give me the easiest roadmap? Thanks. Buy a site that already makes that. That's the easiest thing. So to actually like get there from scratch, you have to do a lot of other work first. So I kind of gave my roadmap earlier of like how I would like kind of like the 4-step framework of what I would do to grow a sustainable site. Ads are like kind of just in there, but I do not think they should be the focus at all. Then you're going to need to think about, okay, what is going to be my primary traffic source? How do I want to get these ads? So it like you could start a Facebook page, pay for ads to the page, and then just share links there. I'm not really a fan of that. You could have a like diehard SEO community, or pardon me, Facebook group community, like I do with my SEO one, that does really well because it's really engaged. And so I get tons of traffic out of that. And so then it'd be sending people over to your blog because of it. But for $500 a month, it depends on your RPMs. Let's say I have to open up my calculator, double check this. So 500 10 times. So you probably need on like a bad ad network, like 50,000 page views for that. On a decent ad network, like 30,000 page views for that. So it'd be basically a roadmap to getting that. And there's too many specific roadmaps for, I need more context to be able to help with this. Please always give me context. So I want to give you guys the most help possible and not just generic advice. Because I could just say like SEO and then walk away, but that's not really a roadmap for it. If you want like the specific strategies I would use to kind of get there in 6 months, that would be my 6 months to 50K masterclass, which we just had 3 more students get into Mediavine off of it. So it's still working and it's still very good, even for existing sites, not just new sites. But I would advise against making ads your primary goal and focus more on other ways that you can monetize. Because like, think of a course. Like if you had a $5 course, you only need 100 people versus 50,000 people. That's a lot easier to make $500 a month that way. You could have 2 courses that are $250, and then that's 2 sales that you need, and that's it. Like, definitely that'll require more marketing and trust, but like a $5 offer, you can get 100 people to buy a $5 offer if you've got like a good community and like you're actively helping people. That is definitely doable. And I think that it's more valuable than just like shoving a bunch of ads on a site and then kind of being at the whim of an algorithm. Okay, I'm going to go back to the questions in the chat, and then I'll go back again. There's so many questions today. I love it. Okay. Sorry, I'm like, my allergies are so bad, so I'm really out of breath. I apologize. I'm trying to talk through it, but I think I might be rushing my speech because I feel like I'm drowning in my own body because my allergies are so bad. Okay. I answered about, oh, here. Nina, what does not set mean as a source of traffic in G4? So, and please share tips for a food blogger. I don't know what you mean. Do you mean tips on the traffic source or otherwise? Again, guys, please be specific with me. It helps me so much. I need specificity. It's the autism and ADHD, please. So data not set or like traffic not set basically means that you don't know what that traffic source is. And that's largely because cookies have stopped tracking. It might mean that they had something like blocking those cookies or they denied your cookies, especially for people who are using a cookie consent pop-up. I see this so much with like Cookie Yes and like the GDPR compliance one. I don't remember what it's called, but they often are like blocking traffic essentially because people just like say no and then it doesn't record any data of them. It'll record that like the page view is there, but it won't get you actual data on them, which is kind of frustrating. So unfortunately it just means that you don't have it basically. Thoughts on starting a Facebook group from scratch? I have a Facebook page with around 500 people currently, but wondering if I'm spending too much time on it. So I am a group girly. I am like very much, I would rather have dinner with 10 people and have the best time than host like a gala. Like I love small, intimate events. I love one-on-one stuff. I'm not a fan of like 10 million followers and things like that. Like that sounds horrifying to me. And with groups, with pages, my understanding is that like you need a lot of people for it to do well. Like you need like 1,000 or more people. It also, I don't know, it's not like you don't kind of talk back and forth with a page, which I don't like as much. I really like with groups that it's a dialogue and it's like you engaging with the people, and that's so fun. Like you get to like be a part of things with them, and I really love that. So for me, I think it's the way to go. Now with groups, there's so many different ways to grow them. I get asked that a lot. I'm going to be creating content around that, don't worry. But essentially, like when you're growing a Facebook group, make sure you keep mentioning it. Just like your newsletter, just like your own blog, like anything, make sure it's super clear. And again, have that kind of funnel idea of how you're moving people to it. So you can also like kind of SEO optimize your Facebook group essentially. Like it should be a searchable name. So for example, I don't know where Theo is now, which worries me actually a little bit. We're at my grandma's right now and I've been like packing up her stuff, and he might be into something like some weird old Russian coins or something. This lady, we actually found like money hidden under a mattress. I love her, but oh my God, she's crazy. Anyway, so I wouldn't call a group about golden retrievers Theo's friends, because who's Theo? What does strangers care about Theo? They don't. They should, because he's amazing, but they won't because they don't know who he is yet. It's about them. And so this is something I tell people too when they're deciding on a niche is like, use terms your audience is going to search for. So I often get people who are like, okay, my niche is going to be like Mediterranean. I don't know. Sorry, the chat moved and it distracted me. That's not your fault. It's ADHD. But like Mediterranean ambiance, I don't know, luxury. And I'm like, what is that? What does that even mean? And that's the problem, is we don't know what it means. Whereas we do know that like, okay, Mediterranean island travel. That's so specific and easy to understand. So same for like naming a group. I think page would be the same way too, though. Same with naming a group is you're going to say like, okay, golden retriever lovers or golden retriever owners, like, I don't know, support group, because there are a lot. So there we go. Now someone knows exactly what they're getting. Then I'm going to optimize the description for that main keyword and then a couple others that would be kind of like tangential things people would search. So for example, like SEO for travel bloggers, well, what is SEO? So in case someone types it out, I would say search engine optimization. Then I also want to say, okay, well, I said travel blogs. Did I say bloggers? Did I say like blogging? Like I want to make sure that I'm using some variations. Now, those are more minute variations, to be honest. I would probably do a bit more than that. So like golden retriever lovers, golden retriever owners, golden retriever, I don't know, even I would just say like retriever parents or something. Like you want to use terms that people are searching for, and you'll kind of know them yourself just from like knowing your niche. And like if you even just sit for a minute and go, okay, I was looking for a group right now. What are like the first 5 things I would type in to find a group on my niche? Those are the 5 things you should include. Then you want to post all the time. People often say, they're like, Nina, I'm posting to nobody. That's fine. So I don't remember who it was. I really want to give them credit, but I can't remember. And I've been trying to find it for a while now. Someone on TikTok, I think, said basically like to become social media famous, you need to post like you have 1 million followers from day one. So even though that means you're like, hey guys, someone asked about my boots. It's like, no one did. You have 2 followers and they're both your dad or something, and they don't care about your boots. Even then, you need to like fake it till you make it, essentially. So like I post in my Facebook groups basically every day. I will admit, have not been great this month because I did not plan things well during my month off to come back and then like be able to dive back in. But even with that, like Facebook rewards engagement. And so you want to make sure that like your group shows as super engaged. Then you want to invite everybody you know. It's weird, invite them, it's fine, just do it. You can also, again, I mentioned before, like run a Facebook group under like kind of a sub profile. So you don't need to like clearly have your full name or something, and you can like not share it with your boss if you don't want them to know or something, but share it everywhere. Then when you go on podcast, like use that as a reference. When people get my freebie, after my tripwire, the next thing that they get is like, okay, here's my freebie. For the next 15 minutes, you can get this thing on a discount. Okay, after that, thank you page. And it says join my Facebook group. If any of you emailed me, you will know I have the world's longest out of office on all the time. And it just says like, be patient. I have mental health issues. And if you want to ask a question, the best place to do it is my Facebook group because everyone can learn together. I did that largely because it saved me time, because like I'd get 100 emails a day and 50 of them would ask kind of the same question. So it means that I can answer it all in one place and everyone gets to learn. But it became such a great way to like properly grow the group and create a diehard community. Next thing, respond to every question someone asks. Even if it is like not something you know the answer to, just say, sorry, I don't know. Hopefully someone else does. Or here's someone who might. Do a search for them and see if you can find it. Like do what you can, go out of your way to help people. That being said, what I find often happens in groups is that people start a group thinking it will be easy. It is not. Facebook groups really do take a lot of time and attention. At the beginning, I was spending way too much time in my group. I was spending like 20 hours a week. Most of that was just refreshing the page because I was like bored and I was watching TV on the side. So like you do not need to spend 20 hours. Now I spend like, I don't know, half an hour a month on most of my Facebook groups, except for the SEO for travel bloggers one. And again, mostly I just always have that one open because I really love it. So that's kind of my thing there. But yeah, I would say my thought is do it as long as your audience are on Facebook and enjoy groups. Okay, then Power Vision Studio says, when I publish new content for the days I publish, the organic search traffic drops. When I stop publishing within a couple of days, it goes back up. Is this normal? I've never heard of that happening. That does not sound, is it, so traffic drops. It's not like, because rankings would drop because you're adding, so average ranking would drop because you're at, or average position, pardon me, because you're adding in new content where it's going to start ranking lower at first. So the average will get skewed. But if it's actual traffic dropping, that's weird. I've never heard of that. That shouldn't be happening. Marcus says, what are your thoughts on focusing more on videos rather than written blogs? I'm in the software niche. Depends on if people want that in your niche. Um, I'm really loving video. I never thought I would say that in my new house. My sister and I are like basically we're making a YouTube studio at my house, which is so cool. And I'm super excited. And it's basically a closet that I'm turning into a studio, but I'm really happy for it. And like, didn't think I would like this enough to do that. But y'all have liked it and I've liked it. So it kind of turned into that. But some niches, it just wouldn't work for. So again, make sure that there's like an audience there for it. That being said, YouTube is working really well with ranking on Google. So like most of my posts or my videos, I don't optimize for YouTube itself fully. Like I do a bit of it now, but mainly I optimize for ranking on Google with the video. So essentially I do keyword research very similarly to the way that like I do keyword research for anything else. Optimize. When did I do that newsletter? I did a newsletter maybe 2 months ago. If any of you didn't get it, email my VA support@sheknowsseo.co and she can, and just ask her like, hey, I wasn't on your list then, I am now. You have to be on my list to do this. If not, she'll let her add you. And then ask her to send you, like Nina did a newsletter about her YouTube strategy. Can you send it to me? And she'll send it to you. But I went through it there and I talked about like what I'm doing to optimize and stuff. But essentially, like I'm mainly looking for keywords that are more like Google driven, and they're doing really well that way. I have some like great affiliate ones that are kicking off for that. So I would say as long as you enjoy it and your audience are there, it's good to do. But I would say it's not easier than blogging and it's not necessarily safer. So like it's still an algorithm. I'm seeing so many YouTubers leave YouTube because of the algorithm. So and they're usually more in like the comedy kind of game because that's what I watch to be fair. But yeah, you just need to keep that in mind. Also, what I learned from Ben of Ben's Watch Club when I was at Affiliate Gathering UK, he said that like if your audience is primarily male, you really need to focus on your content quality, like the visuals and the sound and like your lighting and stuff. And I can say from experience, the only people who have ever gotten mad at my videos about the quality of it have been men, or at least male presenting in terms of their channels and their emails and their names when they send it to me and get mad at me that Theo used to bark in them or it was the poor lighting or something. So if you have a female audience, it's more about the quality of the content itself and like what's being said, but men care about production quality apparently. So extra tip if you're going to do that. Okay, then M. Salu says, hello, I did an SEO internship for 3 months and wondering how I can make a good CV to find beginner level jobs at agencies. Any tips? Also, can you suggest me a good job hunting website? So I've only ever freelanced as an SEO. I've never worked at an agency. And I think I'm notoriously bad at writing CVs based on after I got out of my undergrad, one of the reasons I went and like lived abroad so much is because I applied to 198 jobs and even the MLM turned me down. It was so depressing. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go spend my money in Europe because I'm not good at this. So unfortunately, I don't think I'd have a ton to offer there. I can say that when I've hired roles, like back when I hired writers, I am not hiring right now. Please, no one send me resumes and stuff. We just delete them. Unless I'm actively telling people I'm hiring, don't send me stuff. But basically what I would look for is I'd want proof that you know what you're doing. So I'd want case studies more than I'd care about like, oh, I spent 3 months here and like name drop your school. I don't care about that. I care much more about like, okay, here is a case study of a website that I got more traffic to. Here's a case study of how like I took this product from making 0 sales to making 1,000 sales or something like that. Because people care a lot more about like the traffic and the end result of as well of the funnel than the individual things that you did. And then in that case study, explain what you did because the agency will care about that. But they're also going to want to know that you know how to like deal with clients that way and like show them the end success. So that would be, I think, the bigger thing is like kind of having a portfolio of that. You could even like make a simple website for yourself and get it ranking and like prove it that way. All the SEO jobs I've ever gotten were off of my success with my own website. I did like SEO writing, I guess, for a while, but I kind of just got that and then told them that they should do SEO writing and then they just let me do it. So I think I tripped into that. Back when I used to freelance write, I used Upwork and that was it. And then Facebook groups. I love me some Facebook groups. Uh, okay. Sahana says, apart from the drop in traffic, is there a way to know if the traffic drop is essentially from the HCU March or June Google updates? I haven't received any manual actions notice either. So yeah, if it was a manual action, you would know because they would tell you. They don't send you like an email about it though. You have to like go into Google Search Console to find it, but it would be obvious. So you're probably fine there. Essentially, it's just like, when did it happen? When did the rankings drop? So it's not traffic. Traffic, if just the traffic drops, then that means that it's typically that something changed in the search results so that you're not getting the click through anymore. If the impressions drop, that usually means seasonality. So people aren't searching that thing. So for example, the Google algorithm leak post I did, it's not getting as much traffic anymore. It got over 25,000 page views, which is crazy for a single article. I haven't had an article go viral like that intensely in a while, and especially in like that short of a period. Great article. It's almost hit $1,000 now in ad rev, which is pretty cool. So from it, lost my train of thought again, always. Yeah, so what was the question? Right, okay. So then if the impressions drop, then that usually means that like people have stopped searching it as much right now. It might come back. Like maybe it's just like, okay, it's not Christmas, so they're not searching Christmas stuff. If your position dropped, that means you lost rankings. And you have to go check why that might be. So is it that, okay, the intention changed of that post? What happened? If it happens en masse, typically it's going to be an update. If it happens en masse and then you make changes and nothing gets fixed, no matter what you do, it's a helpful content classifier that is stuck on your website. And typically you kind of need to just work and forget about those posts, sometimes even de-indexed all of them and start again on the same domain, I would say. But that's kind of the main way to check, is just like, are you stuck essentially? And if so, like it's kind of like the quicksand just like holding you down. Sonia asks, have you heard any good things about Mediavine journey? Yes, I did a very extensive case study. It's on SEO.co. It's I think the latest post. And I updated it just a couple days ago with some new RPM data I got, which is like so cool to have so many people messaging me. A lot of them are telling me that they have multiple sites on it, and that if you were already on Mediavine, you can get sites onto Journey a bit easier, and then you don't get added to the file. So they've been sending me even more data. And I can say that like the average post number has gone down a fair bit, but mostly the RPMs have almost doubled the average RPMs, which is pretty insane for a low tier ad network. Low traffic ad network. I was surprised. So yeah, go check out that article. Sonia, is there a way to monetize a podcast? Yes. So podcasts. So I actually had one. I had one kind of randomly in the middle of my blogging journey. It was for my dissertation. It is called Tripping Up. It is not good. It is actively so. I think the concept was so good. It was like comedy travel stories. So it was like you came in and like said a souvenir, like a weird souvenir you've gotten, and then it was like, you tell me your like most wild travel story that like had to be fun, like it had to like kind of be funny. Then for some reason I felt like I had to tell them my travel story, and that was always weird, so that got awkward. The main thing was I didn't know how to host, so they always went too long, but it was fun to do. So the way to monetize it anyway, you can get ads that like auto run. So just like we have like Google AdSense ads, if you pay for podcast hosting, which you kind of have to some extent, free ones will not let you add ads. With paid ones, you can. Or you can negotiate like private deals with companies. So like I know someone who worked with World Nomads. I know people who have worked with like travel payouts and stuff. And then they'll sponsor the podcast. They pay you like a lump sum, and then you like read the ads yourself, record them, and add them into the podcast. So that's something. You can also monetize it with affiliates, like sending people there. Merch, like physical merch. Patreon is a big one, having like a paid Patreon that you get more stuff from. Most of Theo's inheritance goes to different Patreons that I'm in because I love podcasts way too much. You can do live shows. You can do like live like recordings that people can go to. I know like Smosh does stuff like that for their podcast and YouTube. What other ways? Those are kind of the main ways, I would say. And then speaking gigs after the fact too, that's another thing. Sometimes people pay people to be like, you can get paid to host certain people on your podcast. I think that's weird, so I wouldn't do that. But yeah, there's lots of ways to get paid. You could use it to get a book deal. I know a few of those. I also read a bunch of those. So yeah, there's stuff there. Marcus asks, where do you find a good VA? deep, deep, deep in a diamond mine because it's hard to find a great one. So she's actually my online business manager now. She's not just a VA, but I call her my VA because I don't know. I get stuck on one term and then I can't get past it even when it changes. So Alex is amazing. Highly, highly, highly recommend her. She does actually do some like kind of bulk packages now as well. If people want to reach out to her, it's support at She Knows SEO, and you can just be like, hey, I want to steal you from Nina, but not take you away from Nina because Nina needs you. But like, I'm interested in your services, and she might be able to hook you up. I think she also knows other people too. But the way that I hired is that I emailed my audience because I'm very lucky to have an audience of people who work in this industry a lot more than maybe most do. And I was like, hey, I'm looking to hire a VA. Please apply. And I have some content planned around this too, but I have like an Instagram series I did about like exactly how I hired her and the test that I ran. So essentially I had tons of applicants. I was very strict about like, you needed to be super, super careful filling out the Airtable form, or it was a Google form back then. Now we use Airtable, to be like, okay, I need to like see that you can follow instructions. I need to see that like you can engage with these questions that I'm asking you, even if they're a bit chaotic, because I'm chaotic. And then I interviewed, I think, 4 or 5 people who were all so amazing. And I was like, okay, I don't know how to like choose between these people. So then I decided to do a test. And so I did like a live kind of test of one of the main tasks that I felt was the hardest thing to train for. So essentially, I made like a dummy inbox of like, here are 60 emails. And it was a paid trial as well. I believe in paying people when they're going to do work for you. So I was like, okay, you'll get paid for an hour of your time. Here are 60 emails. I want to see how you handle this. And so I took real emails from my inbox. I like adjusted them for privacy's sake. I named them all after celebrities, which I thought was funny, but maybe it was just, I don't know. I was very alone driving across the country then. So I did weird things to entertain myself. And then I saw how they handled it. And the way that like Alex really stood out to me was that everyone else, some people, first of all, one person like edited the main Google Doc, which I had specifically said, please don't do that. Like make a copy. And I did that because again, I wanted to see how people followed instructions and like their attention to detail, because I have no attention to detail. So I wanted someone that is the opposite of me, because I would not be my dream hire for that like specific role. Like I'm very good with detail with new things, but with existing stuff, I just forget because it's not interesting to my ADHD. So I sent them that. And then Alex was the only one who didn't respond to a single email, which sounds weird, right? You're like, okay, but like Nina, maybe other people like got through 30 of the emails. And I'm like, yeah, but the thing was some of them just went in order of like newest to oldest, which first of all was weird to me because I'm like, older stuff might need a response faster because it came in at a different time. Some people responded to some because they had exclamation points in the title. Like there were like weird justifications for why they did stuff, which was like interesting to me. But what Alex did is she created an entire system and like database of how she was going to organize them all and how she would respond. And then she was like, okay, I only have 5 minutes left. I won't be able to do the rest. So here are some bullet points of like how I plan to address these, although it might have to change based on those emails. And I read that and I was like, I would never have thought to do that. And that is so helpful for the future. And sure, it took time now, but it'll save us time later. And I was like, that is what I need. That is the person that I need. And so for me, it was really Denise Duffield Thomas. I think it was in either Get Rich Lucky Bitch or in Chillpreneur. Those are the two, or maybe it's called Chill and Prosper now. She changed the name. It's one of the two. Those two are like my favorite books. And in it, sorry, I don't know what happened there. My screen just went dead. Weird. Pretty sure my grandma's house is haunted. But anyway, so she talked about, lost my train of thought. So she talks about hiring someone that isn't you, because you are a very certain type of unicorn. And ultimately, if you hire other unicorns, they probably also just want to go do their own thing. And they probably are going to be exactly the same problem that you are. And that's why you're outsourcing. So that was really, really helpful to me. And a lesson that I think was super valuable to learn. So that's kind of my tip for it. You can definitely find them. We have a for hire thread and a hiring thread in my SEO for travel bloggers Facebook group. feel free to post there. We also have like, I think people don't look in the featured section, but we have like a guest post request and like offer area, collab post. We have a podcast one as well. So if you have a podcast that you need guests for, or like a YouTube series or an Instagram series, post it there. If you want to be featured on them, post yourself there and say, hey, I'm this person. Do you want to interview me? Here's how you get in contact with me. But you have to post it in those threads, and they are in that Facebook group. They are always there. They are like evergreen. So go share it there. That would be a big one. Then, yeah, you can post on Upwork and stuff. I tried that. I tried onlinejobs.ph, that like Filipino kind of area that everyone on Twitter seems to use. And I hired somebody off of there initially that ghosted entirely. Then I hired a second person, and then they just like, I don't know. I hired them for like 10 hours a week, and then they would like bill me for 1 hour a week because they just wouldn't do anything. So I was glad they didn't like bill me for 10, but I was like, why are you only working one of the 10 hours? So I was like, I'd rather pay someone. First of all, also, I will say, I don't understand people that pay someone $2 an hour. I don't agree with it. So that's just me getting on my soapbox. That is a thing on there for some reason. I don't believe in it. So not my thing. Equally, even when I did pay someone there, I don't remember I think it was like $12 an hour or something. Cause my thing is like, I want to do, like what minimum wage is where I am. And so like from Canada to USD, it was about $12. But my VA now, I pay much, much more than that, but she is worth her weight in gold. And I think it is better to pay more for someone who's incredibly valuable than pay less. That's also something I've said a few times to my roadmappers, but I don't think I've said it publicly elsewhere. I disagree with my own pricing structure of how I hired writers last year. I talked about that in my video of like the worst mistake I've made for my blog was hiring 40 writers when I like was disappearing into the woods. It was such a bad idea. And they were beginners to train them. And I do think that like paid training is important. I think I did it wrong because I think I didn't offer enough training or support fast enough. And I don't think I paid them enough to incentivize them to care for the training. So yeah, I think I was paying like, I think at first it was $20 an article for like the first one. And then it was like $20 per 1,000 words. And then it went up to like, I think 60 or 80 or I don't know, something like that. We ended on different amounts depending on the person. And some people like left earlier because they had other commitments. I got a bunch of them other jobs, which I was really proud about because I was like, I can't hire all of you anymore. But yeah, so I believe in paying what they're worth. And I do think that putting job calls out there in your area as well are really good. Even though like maybe you could get someone somewhere else that might be less expensive, but there are going to be other costs to it, like you having to deal with time zones or a lot more training. And for me, I'd rather spend the money for quality and save time versus the other route, essentially. Okay, that was a long-winded answer. Sorry. You guys know I like long-winded answers. So we're almost done. Not quite yet. So feel free to post any last-minute questions in the chat. I'm going to finish up the ones in the Airtable, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so then Mary says, can you say more about how you use Facebook groups to identify zero volume keywords? I am making a course on it. So I can't go into too much detail. No, I'm just kidding. I can tell you guys. So basically the way that I do it is it's just audience mining. It's essentially like audience research. So I love a spreadsheet. Airtable has like become my new thing. My VA Alex is single-handedly maybe obsessed with it. She like fully convinced me to care about it. Otherwise, I'm a Google Sheets girly, which is usually where I have them. And essentially I join a bunch of Facebook groups in my niche, and then I make my own as well. But I like being in the other ones because you really get to like connect with other people and get an existing platform that's already there. So you're not searching for people initially. And then I just take note of what people ask. And so essentially my method is like, if it gets asked one time and it's something I don't have content around, I'm going to put that onto my spreadsheet. If it gets asked 3 times, it is becoming content as soon as possible, and definitely a blog post, not just like a Facebook post or something. If it gets asked 5 times, it becomes a course or a lesson in a course or a freebie, depending on what the thing is. Like, I don't know. What is DA is probably not going to be a course ever for me, but it's going to be included in my DA course. And I'm going to make sure that I have like proper content around it where I really, really define it. And then I realized people were asking about definitions for everything. So I made my giant SEO dictionary that is free for everybody. You can go find it on She Knows SEO. It has a download that like doesn't require an email. And you can get, or maybe it does now. I think it does because I was updating it and I wanted people to know I was updating it. But essentially, you can also like the one on the site doesn't have that. The download does. But there's like a giant dictionary of like every SEO term you could ever hope to know. And I made that because people needed it and it was helpful for them. So that's kind of where I got the idea for that because people just kept asking. And I was like, well, here you go, all defined now. So that's kind of my method. And it's not the most organized thing in the world. I don't think it has to be. I basically just put like a check mark next to it of like asked once, asked twice, asked 3 times. And that has to be within a limited period. If it's asked 5 times over 5 years, I'm not making like a course about it. But if it's asked 5 times in 5 days, 100%, I'm doing something with that. And sometimes it is just like it'll be really in-depth content that is more value driven and less, it's not going to be paid. And that's fine. Like the Google Algo Leak article, that was never going to be paid. I would never have wanted it to be, but I knew I would get a lot of questions about it. Okay, Layla asked, hey Nina, one of my blogs was hit by the HCU, 90% drop in views, but bounced back somewhat plus 50%. That's really interesting. Would love to see your site to examine it. It previously had a DA of 10, but because I checked Moz nowadays, it says blog not found. Do you think it's because of the HCU? Yeah, probably. It could also be that like when you checked, Moz was doing an update, but I haven't heard of it. It seems like what happened with DA with Moz, and this was one of the questions that got asked a bunch recently, so I do need to make some content around it. Essentially, Moz ranks your DA by approximating your authority. And one of the ways they do that is a popularity contest. They compare you to other blogs, but they also look at the people talking about you or linking to you. And so essentially, if the blogs linking to you lose their popularity, you matter less. So your DA would drop. If if the blogs that are very similar to you are super spammy, they're going to think you're spammy. So it's kind of all influenced that way. And so it's not like a perfect metric by any means. And because of it, when there's massive shifts in the industry, our influence changes a lot. And so our authority is going to shift as well. And the people that are linking to us, if their blogs got wiped out for Google, then we're going to lose that too. Like we're going to lose their impressions, or pardon me, their authority past us. So I wouldn't worry too much. I expect it's temporary, either because you're going to get new people linking to you and ranking for keywords. Also as well, sorry, it also factors in keyword rankings. So if you lost keyword rankings, it's going to like not care about you for a minute. If you can get them back, then you'll be able to bounce back a bit essentially. But it's not the biggest deal in the world. Okay, then I need to stop closing these. I keep like closing them to go to the next one and then it bounces me back. Okay, Lisa says, in Yoast SEO, I always get a red dot in key phrase and introduction. Your key phrase or its synonyms do not appear in the first paragraph. Make sure the topic is clear immediately. That's because it's all in lowercase, but when I use it in my content, it's written with the first letter capitalized. Interesting. No, it doesn't matter for SEO. So Lisa then asks, sorry, I started answering before I read it. Is this really affecting my SEO and ranking? No. Should I be capitalizing the keyword in the focus key phrase box? No, because I wrote a post on rank math specifically, and I go through there's a section in the post where I went through, here's everything rank math tells you to do to optimize a post. Here's what you should do. Here's what's completely irrelevant. And that was one of the things is like, it is not as smart as Google. This is probably a free tool that you're using. Even if you have the pro, it's like what, $50 a year. Google is a billion-dollar industry, like $1 billion a day kind of company. So because of that, like it is much, much smarter. And it can tell the difference between a capitalization and not. It can tell the difference between like Rome must do in Rome, or Rome activities. Like it knows the synonyms there. So you're fine. And you can even say you can even see it says like your key phrase or its synonyms do not appear. It couldn't tell if your synonyms appeared. So just completely ignore it essentially. Most of what they're asking you to do is going to ask you to over optimize a post. Okay, Anonymous asks, I'm getting 4K outbound clicks from Pinterest. I want to scale it as I've lost 90% of my Google traffic. Do you have any tips for Pinterest, or do you know of any good courses to invest in? Natalie Bardo's Pinterest Popular, by far my favorite. It's the only one that made me kind of understand it. I just still don't want to do it because I just don't like the images. I'm just not a visual person, so I don't care about the images. Natalie is at Natalie, Nadalie, Bardo, Bardo. I'll add links to all this after for y'all on YouTube. And I have an affiliate link I can share as well, but we did I think the live was on her. Yeah, it was on her channel. So we did a live recently on her channel where I also went over SEO post updates and how all that works. Two, were any of your sites affected by the HCU? And if so, how are you pivoting? Yes, it's all in my March update post on She Knows SEO. I went into depth there and I share the actual traffic and exactly why I think they got hit and what I'm doing now. I have 2 blogs, one tanked by the HCU, a full-time job, and a passion project I want to pursue. I feel like I'm stretching myself too thin. Do you have any tips on scaling your blogs? Besides that, how do you mentally handle so many things? I feel like I struggle with mentally giving control to others. Yeah, I struggle with that too. I am such a control freak. And whenever I talk to like any other business owner, they're like, yeah, me too. It's the hardest thing because like we we're so used to like being in corporate worlds where like if you want it done right, do it yourself sort of a thing. But in the online world, you have to get used to the fact that like if you're going to be a successful business owner, you can't do everything. You cannot be the cork in the funnel. And yes, you can take over as much as you want and what you enjoy. And I think for me, my problem was I pushed myself too far that I like threw myself as the cork across the room and away from my business. And then I just like threw a ton of like water down the funnel essentially with a ton of writers. But then I hated my business because I wanted to write. I was really jealous. So I think it's about figuring out what you like to do and what you don't like to do and outsource what you don't like to do. Like what's not your zone of genius. Again, I mentioned this earlier in the call, but like make sure that it's something that you understand, that you know like what to do with it and you would know what success looks like. So you know like the key performance indicators of which is KPIs of like what the metrics of success are. For me, mentally handling things, I like theme my month. So I'm like each month, one thing is happening. I've talked about my batching strategy a bunch, but essentially like each month it has a theme. So like this month was like all about launching the now boarding bundle for applications. Like in September, it's also going to be about the bundle because it's going to be about like the launch of the actual opening of the bundle, things like that. I had like a summer of affiliates once where I just wrote affiliate posts all summer. And so for me, it's very much getting into the headspace of like do one thing and then just do a ton of it. Then the other thing is I break it down to kind of 5 tasks that have to get done in that month. And if that's all I do, great. And those have to be achievable tasks, like kind of like 1 day a week work tasks. So like, for example, when I was working 4 jobs and working on my blog, it would be like, okay, the goal this month is posts for traffic. So I need to write 5 posts. I need to, I don't know, what were some of the things I did back then? It's been a long time. I'm trying to think of like what my old stuff was that I would do. Oh no, sorry. It was 8 posts a month. I would do 2 guest posts. I was doing like 8 collab posts, which I wouldn't recommend anymore. I was doing like 2 link swaps, which I still wouldn't recommend anymore either. And then I think the last thing was like, it would have been something on the site to adjust because I was usually tweaking stuff back then of like, okay, let's go through and update a few posts or let's go through and so like, well, no, 1 month was a content audit month. So I think it would have been more like go through and like update newsletter placement or like little things like that. And so those would have been my 5. And so it's like, okay, I can write 2 posts a week. I can write an extra guest post in 2 of the, whatever. You just break it down essentially. I'm really fast at that stuff. So I know that just sounded like a lot and someone's going to be like, Nina, that was like easily achievable. Yeah, it got to the point where it was. So for me, that was fine. But that was important was realizing that like, while I was doing that, I couldn't do everything else. And I got asked, I was on a podcast with Brittany. I'm going to share it when it's out. It's not out yet, but I got interviewed on it and I was talking about, I can't pronounce her last name. So I was just going to try to say it, but I'm like, I don't know how to pronounce it. But I'll share it when it's out. It's a marketing podcast. And I was saying, I'm like, okay, like the way that I'm successful is that I neglect other things. And sometimes I neglect myself, which I don't recommend. It's not good. But usually it's like I am a neglectful parent to all of the other blogs because I really believe that, like, to quote Ron Swanson, whole ass one thing. Don't half-ass 2 things. Like have one thing you really focus on and then the extra are extra. And maybe those get automated. Maybe they just don't have as much growth. Like your passion project probably isn't going to be as important as the one that you're monetizing. Now, if the passion project is the one you're monetizing, then focus on that for sure. And then also my big tip is like take time away from it. So like for me, I make sure, even like back when I was working 4 freaking jobs, which is insane, and doing the blog stuff and trying to train a service dog, I would take at least 1 full day that was just a Nina day. It was like, I might bed rot and just like not leave my bed. But it was so important to have that day as like, this is sacred. So then for scaling your blog, it's a lot of like figuring out kind of your own templates and recipes. Some people call those like SOPs or standard operating procedures. I don't love that term because whenever I see it, I'm like, oh, SOPs, like sop something up on a plate. It's weird. I don't know. I don't like the term. But for me, it was less about like strict templates for sure, but it was more about like automating the things I didn't enjoy. So that's where I started making those custom GPTs. That's where I started like my AI infused blog post templates where I like pre-formatted stuff. That was big for me. Now I do have a lot of templates of like, if I send an email more than once, I'm going to template it. That way I have it in like a massive Google Doc I can send out whenever I need to just go copy and paste it. Yeah. And then a lot of things too is like work with your brain, don't work against it. Even if it sounds like something other people are like, no, that's not like, I don't know, that's not best practice. You should definitely like get up at 4 a.m. and only eat like, I don't know, turkey bacon or something. I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to do what my brain needs and what works for me. And sometimes that is being chaos, and it's okay. Elizabeth Goddard just did a talk at Atomicon where she was like, embrace your hot mess. And I friggin' loved it. It was such a good talk. Highly recommend. I think she's going to make it into a course, but it's so important to embrace what works for you, even if it's not what works for other people. And even if it's not like the most like clean and put together thing, that's fine. Do you have general tips on taking care of your mental health as a blogger? Any mindset shifts? I'm not a mentally healthy person, I'll be honest. So I'm not the person to ask. I was nearly hospitalized last week again. So like, Nina can't give mental health advice. Get a therapist is my best tips. It's not great. So yeah, I would say just take care of you as best you can. And then the mindset shifts is like one of my favorite sayings comes from Georgia Hardstark of My Favorite Murder. And she says like, bigger dummies than you have done these things. Like even Alex Hormozy did an interview where he was talking about Kylie Jenner. And he's like, I used to think billionaires had to be like so smart and like strategic. And then I saw Kylie Jenner did it, which was like a bit derogatory, but like also kind of fair. And he's like, so if she could do it, anyone could do it. And I knew I could do it. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Honestly, bigger dummies than you have done these things. And also like the worst thing that's going to happen is it doesn't work, and that's fine. I mean, people have like great businesses that don't succeed for whatever reason. People like take leaps of faith all the time, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it will never work if you don't leap. Like your parachute cannot open if you don't pull the cord to open your parachute. And in fact, it can strangle you if you open it inside. You have to be falling for it to like be safe to open. So you kind of need those. Yeah, you need that risk a little bit. I would definitely say Get Rich Lucky Bitch, great book. You Are a Badass at Making Money. I also like that one. Her first 100K as the Financial Feminist. I'm definitely going to focus on female business books because that's me. This person's anonymous. Pronouns are she, her. So I think you would also probably like this, but I think everyone can listen to them, honestly. I'm not a fan of business books or mindset books by someone who is not neurodivergent and who is not either queer or female, because then I don't necessarily relate to them. So for me, that doesn't work, but I'm sure that there are some good ones out there. Napoleon Hill had some stuff, and then he started like it was weird. In one of his books, he started like bragging about how he like inspired Hitler. And I was like, I don't want to read this anymore. So not a fan of that, I would say. I think you have to be a good person for me to want to learn your methods. I'd also say when you're looking at like people to emulate, look at people whose lifestyles you like and appreciate. Look at people who like, don't just look at what their immediate success is. Look at the ways in which they're getting that success. Like, is that right for your lifestyle? For me, like I had friends initially, some of whom are no longer friends because they got a bit upset that I phrased it this way, I think, autism. I was like, your business model is like my worst nightmare because you were doing calls every single week. And I can't do that. I cannot know in my heart of hearts that I have to be in the same place every single week. I have to have movement. I have to have mobility. And for like full interviews, you need the setups. You can't just like be in the forest, which is why Voxer's been working really well. Is that I can do these Voxer calls anywhere I am. My honestly, this is the best coaching I've ever done. My students are getting such cool stuff done. We've got so many cool new products and so many cool new wins that I'm super excited about. But like with it, it works for me. So like I look at Elizabeth Goddard because she also has ADHD. She's also queer. And so a lot of the things she talks about and does make sense to me and would work for me. Equally, though, she has kids. So some of the ways she does stuff relate to that. And so I'm just like, that's not, I'm going to pick what I like and what I don't like. But when I look at like Alex Hermosi, sure, he's like making so much money. Everything about his business model sounds terrible to me because like it's very hustle, 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 hustle. I can't physically with my chronic health issues, I can't do that. So I'm not going to do that. We'll keep going till I finish the questions, essentially, guys. So feel free to keep asking because there's more here. I know I'm long-winded. It's my fault, not yours. Okay, Rebecca asks, if I had to start over, or if you had to start over, would you start a blog or would you lean into YouTube, etc.? Completely depends. So context, I've had starting a blog on the back burner for a year or so now. I love writing. I'm currently a paid freelance writer, but also like being on video. So I'm thinking of YouTube as an option too, or maybe both. I have an email list of about 900 and a Facebook group with 20,000 people, mostly coaches. Need a discoverability channel, leaning towards YouTube and blog. I currently help mostly coaches with marketing slash messaging, content copywriting, specializing in helping do minimal slash mindful marketing, since most of them don't want to market and just want to coach. But I've also lived in 7 countries, Canadian, currently living in Spain, love travel, formerly had a website with tons of traffic about the Pyrenees Mountains in Spain, love writing and talking about Spain, unknown areas, food, culture, etc. So could do either niche really. Quick thoughts on this mess of a question, or just let me know if you had to start over, what would you do? Would you still blog? What platform would you start with? That's really interesting. So I think, first of all, Facebook group to me, like Facebook groups are a discoverability channel, in my opinion, because they can get discovered organically. Newsletters are the kind of thing that can't get discovered organically because someone has to like they can't just stumble upon a newsletter. They'd have to stumble upon your website to get to it or to your socials to get to it because it doesn't just exist somewhere in like a directory of sorts. That's just not a thing. It's kind of starting to be a thing with ConvertKit a little bit, but not really. So you need a way for people to find you. And it sounds like your Facebook group is that way. However, it sounds like you have two different ideas of which way to go, whether you want to like work more so with the coaching side of things still for like the copywriting side of things, or whether you want to move on to like a Spanish content site. And I think that those are two very different options. I can't really advise on which one to do. It'd have to be whichever works best for you. I would say for both of those, both YouTube and a blog would do well. I would still start with blogging, honestly, because it has a lower barrier to entry and it's easier to start with. And then I would build YouTube into it. So I would embed the YouTube videos. I would make video content. I'd either repurpose blogs to videos or vice versa. But I would do both because with YouTube, like you don't own YouTube as a platform. So just like you can like lose all of your Instagram reach, you could lose all of your YouTube reach, and that would be a massive issue. So with a blog, at least you own that domain and you own the content, even if like you have to figure out traffic sources to it. So to me, I would do blog first, and then YouTube would like I'd build it in for either one. I see YouTube doing better for the marketing side of things because travel YouTube is again like quality really needs to be there for like the videos and like sorry, when I say quality, I mean production quality needs to be there in terms of like you need like really good videos and like drone footage is really big. Christine Lorazado, I don't pronounce her last name, but she has like the best drone footage. It's so cool. She's participating in the Now Boarding Bundle. I'm so excited and offering her drone courses, which is really cool. But like her videos are amazing, but it's like watching National Geographic. You're like, oh my God, this quality. I'm not going to watch a video that is like someone sitting in their apartment on blurry Zoom or something telling me about travel because it's just not the same. So whereas I think for marketing, like with this, like I started, you look back at some of my old, I've deleted a lot of them that were like truly horrendous. They're still not great. Even now, I'm in my grandma's living room. There's like a weird photo of me over in that like weird photo beside the weird statue, dude. I don't know why I'm beside a naked statue, but that's my grad photo from high school beside some naked statue. So like, it's weird and it's not the best system. So like I'm improving because I'm going to start focusing more on YouTube, but I wasn't focusing on it yet. So you can tell, I think, my Facebook group with She Knows SEO, my two focuses, Facebook group and newsletter. And I think it shows in where I spend my time. And then everything else is kind of secondary to it. I still put effort in and like a lot of time, but it's not necessary the same way. Okay, I think I'm at the end there. So I'll come back here. Web Ninja AI asks, how do you incorporate AI in your SOPs? So again, I don't really use like traditional SOPs. I just don't like standardizing stuff too much because with my ADHD, I need everything to be new. So I really need everything to be unique. Otherwise, I get incredibly bored by it. And so like that's a big issue for me. It's why like my editor right now is converting my other YouTube videos into blog posts. And I do have a custom GPT I made to like help do that. But I also think you really need to humanize stuff. So my last step is always humanize, essentially. However, for SOPs, a lot of it's custom GPTs that I've built to like automate processes. So like I have one for Facebook group post ideas. I have one for newsletter topic ideas. I have a new newsletter subject generator. I have blog post title generators. I have Google Discover title generators. I have Pinterest title and description. That one's not mine, actually. That one someone else shared with me in my Facebook group, and it's in my custom GPTs list now. I have like a list of 300 custom GPTs on She Knows SEO that, yeah, are my favorite ones essentially. And that's done well for me, is getting to like use those. Then it's a lot of like the models that I've trained it on for like my style guide and things like that. And then for me, it's that batching of days as well. Like, okay, certain days I'm going to stick with doing a certain type of thing. And then I just use AI to ideate a lot of that. Then, yeah, my alt text GPT is one. I use AI for, well, I used to use it more to write on my website. I'm doing less of that now because I'm not using Jasper as much anymore. When I used Jasper, I would use my AI infused blog post templates for every single blog. And I would use their Chrome extension to write. There are some ChatGPT ones. Recently, the one I was using started glitching, and I don't share it because I think it might be pirated. I don't know if it's actually like technically allowed because it's free, so I'm just not touching it. But there is now the ChatGPT for your computer that you can use. So I've been testing that out a bit more, and it's been doing well. So that's another one. But yeah, for me, it's more about integrating it into my own processes, and like rather than templating, it's more about like following a flow, like a workflow, I guess. And then yeah, it kind of depends. I do so much different stuff. It's hard to, like, I use it to generate code for a lot of things, coding new plugins. I use AI for being less bitchy in some email responses. Sometimes you just want to be like, stop freaking emailing me. So then I use that to be like, okay, calm down a bit. Let's not swear at this person. And that it's very much spam stuff, I promise. Otherwise, I'm mostly nice. So yeah, for me, I think that's kind of all the ways. This is the thing with AI, a lot of it is like when I have an issue, I just see if AI can help with it. And then if it does, great. And if not, fine, not. And then otherwise I kind of leave it. Do I have courses? Yes. So I'll just drop a link actually. If we go to, oh, my keyboard would turn on. I still haven't replaced my keyboard since it fell apart in my suitcase when I moved back to Ontario. And so like half of my keys are missing. I don't know if it shows very well. So I'm just like pressing the button underneath, and half the time it doesn't work. But at sheknowsSEO.co/everything, you can find all my courses. I have my AI infused blog post templates, which I do still use to like format. I'm just not writing inside of them anymore. Then I have my AI powered site boosters for calculators, quizzes, and name generator coding. Then I have ChatGPT blogging blueprint, which goes over like basically every way that I use AI to code or to write and to code with ChatGPT for blog specifically. And it includes a 350 plus prompt guide. And in that prompt guide, I tested every single one. No two are the same. It's not like, oh, act as a freelancer, act as like, it's not like those are the different. Every single prompt is different and constructed, and then explains how to use it and why to use it and what it will do. So that is my like complete AI course on exactly how I use ChatGPT in basically everything I do. And then you'll find a bunch of tutorials in this channel as well about like, oh, and so with the blogging one, it's also like newsletters and socials, because to me that's all together. But on my channel, you'll also find like reviews of AI. I did like a big deep dive into Surfer SEO AI and a bunch of other one-click AI writers. I've reviewed ChatGPT a bunch of times. I've reviewed Jasper, which I need to update because I don't love the update. I just think it's unethical to update and upgrade and then like remove functionality from people who are already paying and like suddenly lock it behind a higher tier for no reason and not give a warrant. It was just annoying. So I'm just being spiteful right now. I'll probably get over myself. It's not that the end of the world. Okay, how about embracing hot perfectionism? I don't know what that means. I don't feel like I'm hot or perfect, so I feel like I'm not embracing it maybe. I'm not sure, Marcus, I'm sorry. Have you used Duda, I think it's pronounced, Duda, to build websites, and what do you think of building a niche site with it? Never heard of it, or if I have forgotten about it. I use WordPress, and then I code with Cadence. That's what I do. I just use my exact same systems over and over again. Like I custom made She Knows SEO. I like looked at a template on Cadence, and I was like, kind of like that. I looked at Niche Pursuits. I was like, kind of like that. I'm just going to build something that's kind of in the middle. And then I went with that. And that's how I built mine. And I think WordPress is the way to go with functionality, with optimization. I historically have seen other platforms not do as well. And a lot of like theme builders as well, I've seen issues with. So Cadence, Generate Press, and Astra would be the three that I would go with. Yeah, that's kind of my answer there. Okay, last call for questions. And then I want to share one thing with you guys. Once I open it, I'm still like testing out StreamYard, so I'm still getting used to it. But so far, I like it. I'm just not very good at it. Entire screen, I think. Share entire screen. There we go. Okay. So ask your final questions and I'll do a little promo before we go. So if you don't know, I'm hosting the Now Boarding Bundle. This is like the biggest travel bundle and kind of the only one. For some reason, there aren't any others. If you don't know what a bundle is, essentially a bundle is just a bunch of people coming together and kind of creating like a potluck gift guide, essentially. But everything on the gift guide is free for a limited time. Why would you give away your paid course for free? You're like, Nina, you get paid for your courses. Why would you do this? Because it grows your email list. So typically when you want to grow your email list, you have to do a ton of outreach or just wait forever, or you have to pay for ads. And if you're paying for ads, like the lowest I've seen for like a newsletter subscriber might be like 50 cents per person. And so if you're paying 50 cents per person, a lot of those people unsubscribe, blah, blah, blah. So you're probably paying more like $2 per person to get on your list. And then you have to keep like testing those and running the ads. And you might even get some random people. Instead, with a bundle, it is $0. You're basically sacrificing the money you would have made from the digital product to get people on your list. And so the great thing is you don't spend any money up front. You just like spent the time you created making that product, and then you can get people on your list. Now you still want to sell to those people. So I'm also going to be doing free trainings for everyone who's accepted to the Now Boarding Bundle. There is no limit on the number of people. There is no requirement for the number of followers on socials, amount of traffic, niche, or like number of email subscribers. You just need a product that is paid. That is all you need to participate. I mean, I guess you also need to like have an email so that I can tell you that you've been accepted. That's what you need. Then I'm going to do a bunch of free trainings on exactly how to make the most of being in a bundle. For example, like I was in Lizzie Goddard's Lizzie's Christmas party last year, and I got over 6,000 subscribers. That stayed on my list for 3 months. I think we're now down to 5,000, but we still have 5,000 engaged people over 6 months after that event, which is insane. Like that is so, so good. So that's a really great way to like get people on your list. And I've maintained those people. Like my list is almost at 10,000 now because of that. So that's a really important thing to keep in mind, is that like growing a list matters. And how you get them there does also kind of matter, because if you can get people who are your target audience, and so here they're all travelers, that's really good. They're all signing up to this expecting to get your email, unlike a Facebook ad where they're like, I just want this free thing, go away. I don't care about you now. So we want to keep all that in mind when we're applying for things like this, to remember that this is a benefit to us. It does require giving something away for free though. So I will be giving trainings on how to make the most of this, how to upsell to get more money later, and how to make sure you're like basically doing this in the best way so that people stay on your email list. It's going to be kind of like a free masterclass when you apply. So applications close tomorrow at 11:59 p.m. Sorry, my internet's crap right now. There we go. So it closes at 11:59 p.m. Oh wait, is today, not tomorrow, sorry, on the 30th. Sorry, on the 30th. I usually things close on Fridays for me, on the 30th. So you have 3 days and 9 hours to sign up. There is a form at the bottom of this page. This explains everything, but down here you can apply. It is a full form, just fill it out. It does not send you a copy. So don't worry, we will have gotten it, but it doesn't send you a copy. Then you can also, if you don't have a product, you can still participate. So if you have a product, you can be a contributor, but you can also sponsor. If you don't have a product, you can still sponsor. So we have a couple different packages for sponsors, and there are limited amounts. So if you want to sponsor and you don't have any products to contribute, we have platinum, gold, silver, and bronze. I'm going to pull it up on my phone because I always forget what the exact packages are and I don't want to say it wrong. Okay, so the bronze package is that you get an email ad that's 50 words. You get to include a service or discount promotion in the bundle. So you can say like, okay, even a freebie would work. Like download this free guide to this thing. That's fine. Maybe 10% off your itinerary planning, whatever you want to do. It can still be a paid offer on your account. It's just going to be a discount. Then you'll also get your logo and a link to your blog on the thank you page for like thanking all of our sponsors. Then for silver, you get all of that and you get a logo on the sign up page with a link. You get a dedicated post in our Facebook community for the Now Boarding bundle, and you get an increased affiliate commission. Then for gold, it's everything included in those. Plus you get a logo on every page with a link. So everyone's going to like see you all the time. You're going to get a dedicated Facebook post in the group multiple times. I think it was 2 posts. And you get an extended email ad. Then for platinum, there's only 1 platinum available. It's a more prominent logo and link, an email ad on every single promotional email we send. So everyone's going to see you all the time. A logo featured on the promotional images. So every like graphic that we share on Instagram and stuff, your logo will be on it. And that's the same graphic every contributor gets. And we already have a reach of over 1 million people. So you're going to get in front of a lot of people. You're going to get a special thanks from me at the start of every live call, and you're going to get a dedicated promotion to the full email list after the bundle's over and to my travel list. So you're going to get a bunch of stuff there. Now, if you have a product that you want to include, there's also bronze that way, which is guaranteed inclusion in the bundle and increased affiliate. Then silver is that you're also going to get email promotions encouraging people to sign up for your offer, and the option to host a live call for more signups. Lizzie did that and it was called a sign up party. It did very well for me. Then gold is going to be a dedicated email. You can also submit a B2B offer. So everything else needs to be for travelers. Now, there was a misconception I think that people had that it had to say travel in it. It does not. It can be like, I don't know, how to quit your job or something, as long as you can like justify it to me in like 100 words, essentially, why that would be relevant to travelers, because that's how much like room you're going to have to advertise it to people. So if it's like quit your job so that you can travel, or start freelancing so you can travel, that's fine by me. However, if it's like a how to travel blog course, you would need to get the gold sponsorship. And you'll also get a mention in all the swipe copy that all the affiliates get to promote it. So these all start at $250. There is a contributor form down here. I did mess up and I didn't make the page for the other one yet. So email support@sheknowsseo.co if you want to do the I'm not submitting a product sponsorship. I'm trying to get that up quickly. Sponsorship closes July 31st. So you have until then to decide if you want to sponsor, but there are limited spots. It is first come, first serve. And you just have to apply to make sure that, like, again, it's not spammy. And we also want to make sure that people aren't competing with each other. So for example, if like Teachable was like sponsoring it, I then wouldn't let Thrivecart also sponsor it. I don't want to have like competing offers. You know what I mean? So yeah, that is the Now Boarding bundle. You can go to nowboardingbundle.com. I'll post that in the chat if you would like to sign up. And I'm going to stop sharing because that looks crazy. So let me post it here. Oh, I should have been sharing the questions on screen. I forgot that, that StreamYard can do that. Sorry, guys. And then we are going to be going through what's it called? We're going to go through all the applications in July. The goal is to get back to everybody by July 15th. Basically, we have no limit on the number of people being included. As long as your thing is like relevant enough and like it's not true spam, you're going to be fine. So like, don't worry. I feel very good about all y'all being included. It'll be fine. Okay. Then, Marcus asked, how do you stay motivated and lower anxiety with all these Google core updates lately? Just know that like you are doing the best for your audience. That's the biggest thing. And like your audience, they're going to love you for you. And so I think the biggest thing for me is making a community where I feel like I'm safe from all of that. And diversifying, unfortunately, is something that I was just good at because of my ADHD. It's not something that I like even advised as much as I should have. I apologize for that. But it's, yeah, I don't know. To some extent, you kind of just got to like scream into a pillow, do some rage yoga, like let it out. Don't be like, don't keep it inside. And then just move on. And remember, like, things change, unfortunately. So at a certain point, like every business has to face something like this. My sister is an architect. During the pandemic, like they couldn't get wood to build houses. It was really weird. So like everything stalled, and it was like super scary for her. I'm sure. Like my parents are both lawyers. Otherwise, so like for them, I think everyone sues everyone all the time, so they've been kind of fine. But like everything shifts, and I always try to put it in perspective. Like my grandma, whose apartment I'm in right now, my baba, she came to Canada alone at 21 she grew up in Serbia to Russian parents who had fled during the Bolshevik Revolution. So she's Russian, but didn't set foot on Russian soil for a long time. And then they had to like escape, just her and her mom. Her dad had died, her sister had died. And so they had to like escape out of Serbia. They went to Trieste, and then they got put in a refugee camp. And then her mom was too old to come, so she had to come to Canada by herself and then go and like work in, I don't know what it's called. She calls it a mental asylum. I'm sure it had some other name, but she had to go work there for a year. She met my grandpa, they got married, and then she was able to sponsor her mom to come over. But she was like in this country alone. And I'm always like, if she can do that, I can handle the little things. And like during that, her dad was a doctor, and suddenly like everything shifted over there. Like there was the massive inflation, and then suddenly like he died, and the money that they would have had to buy a house now couldn't buy a loaf of bread. And there's just like so much stuff like that that people have to face, and it's really hard for people. So I don't think I don't know. I think it's hard to compare your anxiety, but sometimes it helps to know that it's kind of worse for others. What I do is I actively increase my anxiety by only listening to murder podcasts, which is probably not the healthiest thing. But I find at least I'm like, okay, well, I'm not getting murdered. So it's okay, I guess. That's kind of my tips. Okay, Wild Style says, for the earlier question on Shopify, the subdomain idea would be the way to go to get all the WordPress perks. But to make your life easier, having the blog on Shopify would be limit. Oh, so okay, so you could do it on Shopify, but it'd be limiting. Yeah, I would do the subdomain. I'm glad that you agree with me because I'm not great with Shopify. The person I would actually ask about Shopify, who does it a lot more than I do, is Mariah Magazine. She is very, very good at e-commerce SEO, so she'd probably have more opinions there. For blog SEO, that's where I shine. But for anything beyond like e-commerce SEO and other platforms, I know how to like vaguely optimize for it, but I'm not great at it. And actually, she and Natalie are doing on Natalie's channel a live tomorrow about this. Let me go and grab the link for y'all, and you can ask any questions for it. So let me where is the link? Here it is. There's a link. So that's a link to get notified for their live tomorrow, and it's on e-commerce SEO. And I think she'd be a really good person to ask about that. They're both really cool people. Definitely recommend following both of them. They both have very good YouTubes as well. So I hope that's helpful and kind of a long-winded answer for that one as well. Yeah, I'm gonna refresh the Airtable just to make sure no new ones came in while I was doing this. I think we got everybody. Okay, so I need to go because I need to take an allergy med so bad. I'm so stuffy. So thank you everybody for coming and spending 2 hours with me. God, I thought I left enough time with 90 minutes. When will I ever be able to control my time at all? probably never. I hope you guys had a lot of fun. I hope I was helpful. If you have any extra questions that I didn't get to, you can go and ask them in the SEO for Travel Bloggers Facebook group. Free to join. You can sign up for it anytime. And it's a really cool community of everybody that like loves blogging. It is not just SEO. It is not just travel blogging. One day I'll change the name. Today is not that day. So, I mean, the SEO roadmap hasn't been only SEO for over a year, and I haven't changed that. So one day, maybe I will. So yeah, I will see you guys there. If you have questions or like to clarify things that I said in this video, though, that are not like additional questions, feel free to comment those below. I think it also helps the algorithm for people to like comment, not just in the chat. So if you don't mind like putting a heart or something in the chat, that means a lot. People also have asked me, because I did say that I was going to do content silo audits for $27. I am trying to find time for that, but I go to TBEX next week. So I need to figure out a time. Like, I'm moving house. I just got like the coolest house. I'm so excited for it. It's in the forest. It's beside a dog beach for Theo. It's going to be so cool. But I need to like equally do that. And then I have to go to TBEX, and then I have to come back and deal with an empty house. So I'm trying to find time, but I promise I am still planning to do that. And we will have that on offer sooner than later. But if you want help with your content silos sooner, there is a thread in my free Facebook group. I don't look at it, but other people will, where you can ask everyone else in the group to take a look at your silos and give feedback. We have a monthly thread of people asking for like help and feedback on their site on anything. And we have a monthly promo thread where you can promote a paid offer, your newsletter, anything that you like, really. So that's over there. If you would like to join that, I should probably put a link to make it easier for you. Give me one tick. And I still don't know where Theo is, and I'm getting worried whenever he like vanishes, because he may have found gold somewhere that I need to deal with. Okay, so I hope everyone has a lovely rest of your day, and I will see y'all around, because I am a little bit of everywhere. So bye, everybody. See you soon.